This is Rob Morse of the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. I'm reminding you that this podcast is one of the many good ones on the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out the other podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.
Pistols, prayer, and potluck. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hi guys, welcome to Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. I'm your host, Lloyd Bailey, the Armed Lutheran, and this is episode number 179. Thank you for making Armed Lutheran Radio a part of your week. This week is our variety show with tips from the entire cast. We've got a brand new pontification from Pastor Bennett. He's responding to kind of a disturbing news story out of Chicago. I didn't get anything. We didn't have anything from Mia and Bill. They're very busy this week, so we're going back to the grooveyard of forgotten favorites with a couple of my favorite submissions from them. Mia's motivation today is going to be all the way back from 2016. It was one of her first 10 submissions. She had just come back from Russia and was recounting her experiences spotlighting brown bear on a hunting trip in Russia. So that's one of my favorites, and I think you will enjoy that as well if you've never heard it before. And I've got a fun submission from Sergeant Bill from last year where he's warning us of a terrible affliction sweeping the gun world, particularly those of us who are competitive shooters. And you won't want to miss that. It's hard to believe that we're coming up on episode number 180. That's pretty cool. Our 200th episode this year is going to be the Sunday before Christmas, and I hope to have something really special for everybody for that show, so look forward to that. But none of what we're doing here, none of this show, what we've done for the past almost 4 years, would be possible if it wasn't for you, our listeners. Yeah, this podcasting thing is fun, but it's a lot of work. And knowing that you guys are listening and enjoying and learning from the things that we're doing every week is why we do it. Armed Lutheran Radio is listener funded, and that means we have no sponsors. So we rely on the support of our listeners for everything that we do. I want to give a special thank you to those of you who have purchased the books on the Armed Lutheran shop. You can go to armedlutheran.us/books for those. And for those of you who've purchased Armed Lutheran swag from the shop, like T-shirts and patches and can coolers, thank you. I appreciate your support. But I want to give a special thanks to the members of the Reformation Gun Club, people like Jackie and Gordon and John and Tyler and James and Brian who've been with us for years, David and Mark and Robert and Edwin and Russell and Frank and Jeremy and Calroy. These guys have been with us for a long time and have really been supporting us, and I really do appreciate it. And if I didn't mention you, it doesn't mean I don't love you. Thank you all so much for your support. You can join them if you are interested in supporting us in a more personal way and getting some more cool perks. Go to armedlutheran.us/gun club. Check out all of the cool stuff there. We've got free copies of my books. We've got some free swag. We've got hundreds of hours of exclusive content there for you. And I've got a new perk coming up. I just secured something really cool this week that I'm going to be sending out to all the members as a little thank you, as a little gift for the support that you've given us over the years. If you would like to be a member of the Reformation Gun Club, check out armedlutheran.us/gun club. All right, I'm going to shut up and get out of the way. Enjoy the show. I'll talk to you again next week.
You can help support Armed Lutheran Radio just by listening to the show. Go to armedlutheran.us/radio and download the Radio Public app and start listening.
I want to take a minute here to thank our partner, the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. If you're involved in a situation where you have to use your firearm in self-defense, you very well may find yourself in a legal battle against overzealous prosecutors or the families of the criminal who you shot or threatened, who are looking to deprive you of your freedom or your hard-earned savings. You may find yourself charged with a crime or facing a civil lawsuit even if you did nothing wrong. That's where Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network comes in. For a small yearly fee, they will provide you with money for attorneys, money for bail, consultations, and access to experts like Marty Hayes and Massad Ayub. Don't face the fight alone. Visit Armed Citizens Network today. Use the promo code ARMEDLutheran-25. Save $25 off your first year's membership, or you can grab the coupon on my website, armedlutheran.us. Sign up today. They will send you lots of cool resources, 8 instructional DVDs, and a book by Massad Ayub that I cannot recommend highly enough. Don't wait until you need their help. Be prepared. Sign up today. Visit armedcitizensnetwork.org.
It's time for Pastoral Pontifications with Pastor John Bennett.
Hey folks, it's me, your favorite pistol-packing preacher, Pastor John Bennett, here to do a little pontificating. And today I'm discussing an article that was brought to my attention by our very own Lloyd Bailey. The article was posted on the website Defensive Maven on July 25th, and the article is titled, Chicago Chamber of Commerce Hosts Event Where Kids Bash ICE Agent Pinata. Children took turns beating a pinata that was created in the likeness of an Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent during a community block party on July 13th. The East Side Community Day in Chicago community event was hosted by a Chamber of Commerce comprised of 25 local businesses, Fox News reported. Video and photos of the scene showed the kids as they lined up for their turn to smash the ICE agent-themed pinata with a large stick. Many were encouraged by their parents, and some even held their small children so they could help them strike it. The older kids, of course, we let them know what it meant. We teach them what it meant, Los Brown Berets Chicago chapter leader Anthony Martinez told WBM. Now let me pause for a second right there. Los Brown Berets. This is an organization that is considered the militant arm of La Raza. And it was formed with the express purpose of reconquering the territory that the United States took from Mexico and paid them $15 million, by the way, in 1848, which is $486 billion in today's currency. So they want to take back this territory to once again become part of Mexico. And it's also worth noting that this organization is deeply rooted in communism. So there you are, the Los Brown Berets. Martinez said that his group ordered a Batman piñata, then modified it to resemble the appearance of and it specifies this, a white ICE agent. Now, pardon me for saying this, but that sounds a little racist, doesn't it? The last time I checked, ICE agents are of all ethnicities, not just white ICE agents. In fact, there's been a number of minorities who are ICE agents who have died in the line of duty, killed by illegal immigrants. But I bet Mr. Martinez of the Los Brown Berets of the east side of Chicago could care less about that. So we're just making a statement, Martinez told WBBM, taking children from their parents, separating them, let them know that it is not wanted in here in this community. Now, let's point something out here for Mr. Martinez and the rest of his radical communist organization. The practice of separating illegal immigrant parents from their children is based on the Flores Agreement of 1997 during the Bill Clinton administration. Now, according to that agreement, federal authorities must separate children from their parents when the parents are detained for illegal immigration. They are not permitted to have them detained together. And it's also worth noting that, as was published in an article in the Washington Examiner in May, DNA tests reveal that 30% of suspected illegal immigrants that are bringing children along with them are not actually related to the children that they're bringing along. Can anyone say human trafficking? So this policy that Mr. Martinez of the Los Brown Berets detests is one that actually is protecting children. But they don't seem to be too interested in that little detail, do they? It was not meant in a negative way at all towards law enforcement, he claimed. Children were also given the opportunity to throw balls at a painted image of President Donald Trump's face during the block party. And if you see the pictures, it's right into Donald Trump's mouth. So, hey, maybe they wanted to give the kids the ability to say, I put balls in Donald Trump's mouth. No double entendre there, I promise. Eastside Chamber of Commerce member Marvin Covington said that the chamber had no idea that the piñata would be present at the neighborhood event. The kids who were breaking open the piñata didn't know anything about it, Covington told WBBM. Yeah, I doubt that. Especially when Mr. Martinez of Los Brown Berets has said that they're teaching children what it means. Encouraging kids to bash the likeness of an ICE agent really wasn't that big of a deal, he argued. It wasn't a sense of, this is terrible, I shouldn't have come, Covington said. It was, this is something that happened. We gotta move on. Yeah, it seems like he doesn't care too much either. The business owner said that the event was a success and that the chamber plans to hold another block party next year. He refused to discuss whether or not any ICE-themed piñatas would be present at next year's gathering, WBBM reported. It's not for me to say, because I didn't know they were coming this year, Covington said. Do you think that the parents are turning their kids against law enforcement officers? Or do you think it's just a piñata and no big deal? That ends our article. Now, the reason that this really strikes a note with me is that the biggest trend in the immigration argument these days is the abolishment of ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, those federal agents who have been charged with the responsibility of detaining and deporting illegal immigrants. To date, thousands have been killed by illegal immigrants. These are sons and daughters, mothers and fathers, even infants. Some have been killed by vehicular homicide, others by stabbing or strangulation, arson, and cold-blooded murder by firearm. Some of the victims were raped before they were killed, and yet these organizations wish to eliminate the one federal agency which is charged with curtailing this kind of violence. Between 2011 and 2017 in Texas alone, there were 1,167 homicide charges against illegal aliens. Let that sink in for a minute. In March 2011, the Government Accountability Office reported on crime committed by illegal aliens. It's worth noting, too, that who was president in March of 2011. Here's a direct quote from the report. Based on a random sample of 1,000 criminal aliens, we estimate that our study population of about 249,000 criminal aliens were arrested about 1.7 million times, averaging about 7 arrests per criminal alien. Now, it doesn't list the dates or the span of years for these offenses, but let's just go through the numbers based on percentages. So out of 249,000 criminal aliens, 4% were arrested for kidnapping, which is 9,960 incidents. 8% were arrested for homicide, 19,920 incidents. And 12% were arrested for sex offenses, for 29,880 incidents. And yet we're supposed to pretend that these things aren't happening, that there isn't a danger posed to the American citizens by the presence of illegal aliens within our country. And it's not just the crime that's an issue, it's also the financial aspect as well, the burden that is levied upon taxpayers. There's an estimated $1.4 billion that the government spends annually for the cost of incarcerating illegal aliens. And, of course, this isn't the government paying the money, it's you, the taxpayer. In Los Angeles County, just one county in the entire country, $140 million annually is paid for the incarceration of illegal immigrants. It's also worth noting that 20% of all federal inmates are illegal immigrants, 1 in 5. And the cost to house these illegal aliens is roughly $35,000 a year. And 13 Americans are killed every day by illegal aliens who are driving while intoxicated. And yet, we should abolish ICE. St. Paul writes in Romans chapter 13, "Let every soul be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and the authorities that exist are appointed by God. Therefore whoever resists the authority resists the ordinance of God, and those who resist will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to evil. Do you want to be unafraid of the authority? Do what is good, and you will have praise from the same, for he is God's minister for your good." Now, we can say that there's a lot of things that the government gets terribly wrong. But yet one thing that I must say that the government is getting right, at least with this current administration, is the effort to curtail illegal immigration and deport those who are in the country illegally. As I detail with the crime statistics alone, this is in the best interests of Americans. And God's Word tells us that we are to honor the governing authorities, for they have been put in place by God for our good. In closing, I will emphatically declare that anyone who opposes the existence of ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, and anyone who opposes the practice of curtailing illegal immigration does not have the best interests of America and her citizens at heart. What are your thoughts on it? I'd love to hear from you. If you have any articles or any questions or comments that you would like to hear me pontificate about, please send me your comments, your feedback, through the Armed Lutheran Radio webpage or by visiting stjohnswillowcreek.org. We'll talk to you next time.
John Bennett is the pastor at St. John's Lutheran Church in Willow Creek, Minnesota. For more information, visit stjohnswillowcreek.org.
Hey guys, it's Mia here. If you follow me on social media, you know that I often share morning inspiration. Many people ask how I can keep this up every day. Well, it starts with my morning readings and that perfect cup of coffee. The official Dunkin' Donuts shop provides coffee lovers with everything they need, from K-Cup pods, original blended coffee, tea, drinkware, and more. Who doesn't want Dunkin' delivered to their front door? Shop today at www.armedlutheran.us/coffee and help support Armed Lutheran Radio today.
Time now for Mia's Motivations with Mia Anstine.
Hey everybody, hi Lloyd. I am happy to be back. I went with the folks at Beretta USA and they took me to the Sako plant in Finland. And that was quite an adventure. I had never been to Europe, so it was my first time on that direction of the world. I toured the Sako facility and saw how they manufacture their rifles as well as Tika, and then we also toured their ammunition factory. So for those of you who didn't know, that Sako is owned by Beretta, and it also is an umbrella over Tika, and they also make ammunition. So keep an eye out for those when you're out looking for new rounds to shoot. After we toured the factory, we headed out to a shooting range because we were going to head to Russia to hunt. And so the Finns took us to the shooting range because in Finland you actually have to pass a shooting test. They have a timed test where you shoot 5 rounds into the kill zone of a brown bear silhouette. And after that, the next day, we traveled over to Kuusamo, which is still in Finland, but it's on the border of Russia. And then we drove through the border of Russia, which was quite an event. We were instructed to be very quiet, no smiling, no laughing, no joking, so that we could get through the checkpoint rather quickly. And for 4 riders and 4 Sako employees and a Beretta employee, it only took us 5 hours to get through the checkpoint to get into Russia. The time that it takes is actually because when you're going into Russia, they take photographs and they weigh everything you're bringing in as far as the firearm goes. They weigh the gun case with the gun in it. They want the ammunition in the same case as the gun. And they take photographs of the serial number of the rifle, the serial number of the scope on the rifle. They take photographs of what ammo you're bringing and how much you're bringing in. And then the reverse is done on the way out. So that was an experience. I had never been through a checkpoint like that, and it was interesting to see how other countries do that. After that, we had a 5-hour drive up to hunting camp, and that drive was quite a bit of fun. Once you cross the border into Russia, it was dirt road, washboard, gravel. That was for 2 hours, and then we took a turn onto a 2-track Jeep trail road, and we were crossing rivers and creek beds and stuff like that in the vehicle. So that was another 3 hours. So there we added another 5 hours onto our trip getting to camp. We were there to hunt brown bear and moose. We headed out to the blind about 3:30 or 4 in the morning. And yes, it was dark, but there was a little silhouette from the moon because the moon is pretty large this time of year. And climbed up into that blind, got settled, and right away we hear the sloshing of a bear coming in. This is where I know that God's always with us, because this is a kind of a comical story in hindsight. I don't think the guide thought it was amusing, but I had requested a guide because I'd never hunted in Europe, much less in Russia, and I've never hunted brown bear. So I wanted the best opportunity possible. I didn't want to make any mistakes, and I wanted to see if I could tag a brown bear. So this guide is with me, and beforehand they had informed me that he didn't speak much English. So I was, okay, I understand. Well, this bear comes sloshing in, and the guide is whispering to me, telling me that there's a bear, which I understood. I could see this ominous silhouette just looming out there, and it would traverse to the left, and then it would kind of hover back to the right. And I'm looking at it, and he's kind of asking me if I could see it, and I'm like, yes, I can see it. And with it being early morning hours and with that moonlight, I kind of looked through my binoculars, because I have Swarovski binoculars, which do gather a lot of light, and I'm aware of how much light they can gather. So I looked through there, and I'm still only seeing this ominous black silhouette just kind of hovering out there. And I told him, yeah, I can see that bear. And he said, okay, never mind. And once the sun came up, I'm still looking for bears, and waiting. And then at 10 in the morning, we left the blind, and another rider went into that stand. And when we got back in and we came to an interpreter, he asked, did you see the bear? I said, yes, I saw the bear. And he says, well, why didn't you shoot the bear? And I said, well, it was too dark to shoot the bear. And he says, didn't you have a light? And I was like, well, yeah, I have a light. I had a headlamp on my hat. And he said, well, why didn't you turn on your light? And I was like, what? A little bit confused there, because I'm from out west in the United States, and spotlighting is very much frowned upon and highly illegal. So here I was, an American in Russia, and had this big ominous black bear hovering out there for quite enough time to turn on a light, gather a focal point, and shoot. And little did I know we were supposed to shoot these bears in the dark. So the whole story, as I said, it kind of makes me laugh now, because it reminds me of Genesis 11 and the story of Babel, and how we want these things, and they're not necessarily what God intends for us. And so there's that Babel. This guide was trying to tell me to turn on my light to shoot the bear. And unfortunately, because of the Babel, I had no clue what he was telling me. And the two of us went through similar situations 2 more times, because we went to that same stand the next night and had a plan of me telling him when to turn on the light so I could shoot, and we kind of rehearsed this before we went up there. But when the time came, he didn't understand what I was saying, so no light and no bear, and there's all that babble. So that's quite the adventure. The rest of the trip was fun. We did hunt the moose. They hunt those with dogs, and it's similar to what we do out west when we hunt with hounds. We hunted behind a Swedish wolfhound, and all of it was just fabulous. It was really fun. I did get to carry that Sako 9.3 around with me for a couple days. I hope that you have more success in your hunts than I had in my Russian hunt. And as I said, it was a ton of fun. It was a lifetime experience that I'll never forget. Anyways, my tip to you is step out of your box. Always know what God has intended for you and accept it, and you will definitely be happy. And so I'll be sharing more adventures with you after I recover from this jet lag, and next week maybe I'll have a little tip.
You can read more from Mia, watch her YouTube videos, or check out her podcast, Mac Outdoors with Mia and Leah, at miaanstine.com.
Hey there, this is Sergeant Bill. After the successful completion of a match, Lloyd and I like to get together and top it off with a celebratory cigar. We get our post-match cigars from Cigar Page, home of America's best cigar deals. Visit armedlutheran.us/cigar and get a great deal. And also, help support Armed Lutheran Radio.
Time now for another Ballistic Minute with Sergeant Bill Sylvia.
Hey everybody, I'm Sergeant Bill, and this is your Ballistic Minute. So I heard a new term for a disease that is sweeping through the gun culture and specifically through competition shooting. It's called GAS, or Gear Acquisition Syndrome. There are a lot of people I know that have GAS. They always have to have the latest, the greatest, the newest gun. That Shadow 2. Oh, get it milled to put an optic on it. Oh, shave some weight out of it and cut some stuff out of the slide so you could shoot it in IDPA. Or Double Alpha's got new mag pouches. Or I heard there's somebody else that makes a new bullet that's got some super coating on it. People, find out what works for you, what's comfortable for you to shoot. Find the gear that works for you, that you can afford, and shoot it, and practice with it. I've also heard the saying that, don't be afraid of the guy with a bunch of guns. Be afraid of the guy with only one gun and knows how to use it. I heard somebody else do a different version of that on a different podcast, and they said, don't be worried about the competitor with the $5,000 gun and $500 worth of training. Be worried about the guy with the $500 gun and $5,000 worth of training. So figure out what gear works for you, stop playing with it, and just shoot. And now I'm not saying don't try other stuff, don't shoot other guns. I mean, competitive shooting is a sport. It is supposed to be fun. But if you really want to excel, you need to pick one gun, stick with it, and get better. The skills that you increase and get better with that one gun are going to translate to every other gun. Some guns feel a little bit different. They might point a little different or whatever, but that's a training issue and that doesn't take long to overcome. So if you've got GAS, there's one way to get over it. Pick your gear, pick your gun, practice, and train. I'm Sergeant Bill. This has been your Ballistic Minute.
Sergeant Bill Sylvia is a veteran of the Dallas Police Force and a masterclass competitive shooter. You can check out his YouTube videos at armedlutheran.us/Sergeant Bill. For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback or a review on iTunes and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio.